Have you ever sat back and pondered on the question, who really owns the internet? In the vast digital landscape that is the internet, it's not an uncommon question to wonder about its ownership. For many, the internet feels like a free, open space where information and ideas flow without restriction. But does that mean no one owns it? Or does someone, somewhere, have a claim to this global network that has become an integral part of our daily lives? Now, it's a common misconception that the internet is owned by a single entity, be it a powerful individual, a tech giant, or even a government. But the truth is, the internet isn't something that can be owned by one person, company, or country. The reality is much more complex and fascinating. To understand who owns the internet, it's essential to first grasp what the internet is. The internet is a global network of networks, a vast web of interconnected devices and systems. It's not a physical thing that can be held, but a system that exists because of a multitude of components working together. So when we talk about owning the internet, we're referring to the control over these various components. And here's the thing, these components aren't all owned by the same entity. The infrastructure that makes up the internet, the cables, the servers, the data centers, is owned by countless different organizations, businesses, and governments around the world. Furthermore, the software and protocols that allow the internet to function, the domain names and IP addresses, are managed by different bodies. These include non-profit organizations, international bodies, and even volunteer groups. So the internet is not a monolithic entity owned by a single power. Instead, it's a complex, sprawling network owned and operated by a multitude of stakeholders. Each of these stakeholders has a role to play, a piece of the puzzle that helps the internet to function as the global information superhighway we all rely on. So it seems that the internet isn't owned by a single person or entity, but then, who are these stakeholders? The internet, in fact, is a global network of networks owned by a myriad of different entities. It's not just a single entity or individual who holds the keys to this digital kingdom. Rather, it's an intricate web of stakeholders, each playing their part in keeping the internet up and running. First on this list are internet service providers, or ISPs. These are the companies like Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, and countless others worldwide that provide you with your internet connection. They own the physical infrastructure, the cables, the wires, the satellites that transmit data from one point to another. Without ISPs, you wouldn't be able to browse your favorite websites, stream your favorite shows, or even send an email. Next up, we have governments. Now you might wonder, what role does a government play in internet ownership? Well, governments control and regulate the ISPs operating within their jurisdictions. They set the rules and guidelines that these companies must follow. Additionally, they can control access to the internet within their borders, a power that has been used for both good and bad. Then, there are organizations like the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, or ICANN. This nonprofit organization is responsible for coordinating the maintenance and procedures of several databases related to the namespaces and numerical spaces of the internet. In simpler terms, they make sure that when you type in a web address, you end up at the right place. There are many other stakeholders too, from tech companies that create the devices and software we use to access the internet, to the individuals and businesses that create and host content online. Each of these stakeholders plays a vital role in the functioning of the internet. These stakeholders may own parts of the internet, but how does this translate into wealth? You may now wonder, if these entities own parts of the internet, how do they make money out of it? Well, strap in, because we're about to dive into the fascinating world of internet monetization. Let's start with the basics. One of the most common ways to monetize the internet is through subscription fees. Think about your favorite streaming platforms, like Netflix or Spotify. They offer a vast library of content, but to access it, you need to pay a monthly fee. That's a subscription model right there. Next, we've got advertising. This is where things get a little more complex. When you see ads on a website, it's usually because the website owner is making money from them. Every time an ad is clicked or viewed, the advertiser pays a small fee. This model, often referred to as pay-per-click or pay-per-view, is a significant revenue source for many websites. Now let's get into the slightly murkier waters of data selling. In this digital age, data is a hot commodity. Some companies collect data about your browsing habits, preferences, and more, then sell this information to advertisers who use it to target their ads more effectively. Then we have premium services. You've probably encountered websites that offer basic services for free, but charge for additional features or content. This is called a freemium model. The idea is to hook users with the free service and then upsell them on the premium offerings. Finally, we have the big tech companies like Google and Facebook. These giants have their fingers in many pies, from advertising to data collection, premium services, and even hardware sales. They generate revenue from a variety of sources, making them some of the most profitable entities in the world. So, owning parts of the internet can indeed be a lucrative business. But how much wealth does the internet generate? The internet as a whole generates an astonishing amount of wealth every single second. It's a ceaseless machine, a never-ending cycle of transactions, communications, and innovations. But how much is this virtual world actually worth? Estimating the exact value of the internet is like trying to count the stars in the sky. It's vast, it's diverse, and it's constantly changing. But let's try to put it into perspective. According to Boston Consulting Group, the internet economy of the G20 nations alone was worth over $4 trillion in 2020. That's larger than the GDP of most countries. And that's just a fraction of the global internet economy. And it's not just about the money. The economic impact of the internet goes beyond raw figures. It has transformed industries, created jobs, and sparked innovations. It has made information accessible, businesses scalable, and dreams achievable. It has changed the way we live, work, play, and connect. The ripple effects of the internet on the global economy are profound and far-reaching. But who are the biggest winners in this digital gold rush? Well, if you look at the list of the wealthiest tech companies, you'll see familiar names like Apple, Amazon, and Google parent company Alphabet. These tech giants have built empires on the internet, amassing fortunes that rival the economies of small countries. And let's not forget the individuals who have struck it rich in the digital landscape. People like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg are household names today, thanks to the internet. They've leveraged the power of the internet to build innovative businesses, disrupt industries, and accumulate wealth beyond imagination. The internet, although not owned by a single entity, is a massive generator of wealth, influencing economies and shaping the fortunes of companies and individuals alike. So next time you log on, remember, you're not just surfing the web, you're stepping into a world of limitless possibilities and unimaginable wealth.